Hello and welcome to this little tutorial. For those of you who maybe don't know what this is a Yamaha Genos 2. It's an arranger keyboard made by Yamaha, and this, for those of you who don't know what this is a Yamaha NP35. Now, many moons ago when Tyros was available, many people had an MP30 and MIDI'd the two instruments together and used the two as sort of kind of an organ setup, but not as a true organ. And of course, as the instruments have evolved, so have the sort of elements that you need to buy to make a twin instrument. So today, what I'm showing you here is how to connect everything up and what this is. So this is the MP35. It's a cheap, and I mean cheap, it's about £300. Cheap is the wrong word in actual fact. It's not cheap because cheap implies sort of not high quality. This is a really good lower keyboard for this instrument. So you get yourself an MP35. Now normally you would connect this via MIDI, but the MP35 doesn't have your traditional MIDI ports, which is a bit of a shame because it was a great idea just to plug straight into here. However, in the search for a good solution, this little box has appeared, which I bought. It's made by a company called Lab for Music, and it's called a Sipario expanded box. Unfortunately, they've gone down this line of using X for expand. I hate it when companies use X as expanded. It's just so tacky. But anyway, that's just my bugbear with design. So this thing will now actually work in conjunction with the Genos. So my lower keyboard, which is MIDI over USB, the MIDI USB port plugs into here, and then a traditional MIDI port goes out of the back of it into the Genos MIDI in A. It can go in either, but because I'm not using pedals and I have no intention of ever connecting pedals again, going in MIDI port A. Still have the beauty and the enjoyment of having two manuals, but we aren't using MIDI pedals. Right, okay. So now what I can do on this box is I can go to something called a scene, and I can set up a scene that will actually send a signal from this instrument to this instrument and tell this instrument that this is MIDI channel 1. Okay. Right, so what we do is on the box, we just tap the setup and then press enter. And on the screen, you've got a choice. And what I can do is I can choose the MIDI in, which is the USB port in. And then this little box will tell information to Genos that it needs to know. So this box is saying that this instrument is on this section of the keyboard is MIDI channel 1. Okay, so if I go into my MIDI on my Genos, and I can show you the screen here, look, here we go. Right, this is how it's set up. So if I press a note on the lower keyboard, on the lower manual, and press C, you see on the screen how this little green light at the bottom is flashing. That's saying I am receiving a signal on MIDI port 1, channel 1. Very clever, because that's what I'm doing. On the actual channel section, if you look at the top where it says port 1, you can tell the instrument what section of the keyboard you want to play when you do this. So I'm choosing left because this is going to become ultimately my left section that used to be here. So what my aim is to have this as an entire manual for the melody, and the chord will be here split at G sharp. Okay, that's what we're doing. Now this is where the clever element to this little device starts to sort of come into its own, is because I can also then say create a separate MIDI channel. So I can go to this channel and I can say that the box is receiving MIDI channel 1, but I want to tell the Genos that these keys from here to here are actually sending out MIDI channel 2. let's just think about this. This section here is MIDI channel 1, so it's telling the keyboard that my left sound, which you'd use over here normally, is going to be played from here instead of here today. Okay? And then I'm fooling the Genos using this little device to say that all of these keys are actually a separate keyboard. I'm telling this instrument that this box is sending MIDI channel 2 from here to here, which means now that I can actually play my right 3 voice separately. And if I so wanted to do, I could use this box again to create another split and send another MIDI channel to the Genos to say, I want, say for example, right 2 to be played here. So if I wanted to put timpanis here, I can do that. And now with the added benefit of the fact that Genos 2 has a wider octave scale range, you can move things up and down even further. So it means ultimately that this is the solution that everybody has ever wanted from day one. And it's all thanks to this little box. Now, at the moment, as it stands, this cannot be bought in the UK. You can only get this from German companies or from Italian, directly from Superio or Lab for Music. Thomann and DV247, I think, sell it. It's about £450, so it's not cheap. But for the ultimate setup, and for those of you who have decided that this is the way to go, then this is how you do it. Right, I'm going to show you on the screen now how you tell the keyboard. So my left hand, if I play my left hand, you see MIDI channel 1 is light flashing. So at the moment on receive, I've got it set to left. On chord detect, I've also said port 1, MIDI channel 1 is where I want my chord detection to come from. Now what do I mean by chord detection? Well, basically when you play your chord here, it's sending a message to the Genos to say, this is the chord for the style. Well, this will now do that. So if I turn my accompaniment on and press a chord, it's coming from here, not from here. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So, right, on the box, you can then create another channel. So you just click the little plus button and you say, I want my keyboard from here to here to send MIDI channel 2 to the instrument. So if I go back to my receive section on the screen, as you can see here, if I go to receive, port 1 channel 2, what does it say? Right 3. So my right 3 voice that's over here is now playing here. That's it. That's done. That box is now set up. That's actually saved in the memory. I'm just going to pop him there out the way. So now, if I want to, I can play here. So let's go. And first off, we need to save that MIDI setting. So let me just show you how to do that. So we've got everything set up. The other thing that you'll need to make sure that's on is transpose MIDI input. If this isn't on, when I transpose on the instrument itself, let me show you. My lower keyboard, oh dear. So this is where you need to go in and you need to make sure that MIDI transpose input is set to on. Then, when you do change your transpose, the two are locked and you won't have any problems. Then all you do is on the main screen, click save. Save here, and I've called it Genos 2 as in 2 manuals. See what I did there? Click yes, saved, and then I can come out, and that's it. That's me set up now. I now have a full setup. But one thing that you do need to change, and let me just show you this also, is you need to go into your split setting on the screen. So if I go to the screen, look, here we go, split and fingering. I have got the style set all the way down to E0, left is E0, and right is E0, F0. So it's all the way down. So basically I've now got... that is one entire, very big keyboard, because my left section is here. And my right 3... Okay, let's test this now then. So let's go and pick a nice style. So let's go into easy listening. Let's go to easy orchestra. I absolutely adore this style. Okay, so I want to put a flute on my right hand on my melody. So let's go in and choose flute. So we're going into woodwind and we want to go to classical flute. And don't forget, we've got an entire keyboard of flute now. So we can now also then think, well, hang on a minute, I want a voice. I want a voice here. So I can go to my right 3 and choose my symphony choir. I can stick some choral. I can also then go in and change where they're positioned in terms of octave. So I can move the octave down for my right 3. Maybe I want a different voice. Maybe I want to pick a vocal. Let me just hold it. So and again, I'll move that down so it's not quite so shrieky. So we're going to go down an octave. Okay, so I've got my nice style. Let's put strings on the left hand because that's a nice voice for a left hand part. And I'm going into my legacy strings, page 4, strings pad. Lovely voice for the left hand. Adjust the volume. And let's put a guitar instead of the flute on the right hand. Not that one. Let's go for something a bit more classical. Incredible. It opens a world of possibilities because you can then, if I wanted to, like on my right hand, I could go and choose a nice, in fact, let me just save that registration first. I could go in and pick a nice French horn. Save that, go back to my first registration. Go back to my second registration. Maybe I want to have the vocal on the upper melody instead. So... the world is your lobster. It really is. You can do anything that you want. If you want a piano, let's put some nice reverb on there. Remember the transpose? Press the button, it'll transpose both. Simple. Doesn't have to be complicated. It's not technically out of this world. It's all been driven by this little wonderful invention by Lab for Music. It's a great little device. Really is recommended if you want to do this sort of thing. For those of you who maybe have got this set up but not this, you are restricted to this all over that keyboard. By doing what we've done today means that if I wanted to put a nice electric guitar, takes that stress away of thinking I have to play with registrations. Don't get me wrong, the idea of having a registration, he says, just saving that, the idea of having a registration is great because you can sort of pull it up, and now I've got different voices on the upper and lower. But there's always been a reason why 2 manual, 3 manual instruments are better to play, because the creative element to your music, and when you actually perform, if you're thinking, okay, I've got, say for example, I've got a guitar on my lower. If I wanted to have something nice and delicate, something like an oboe, classical oboe. My brain is programmed to know that this is a guitar. So I haven't got to start thinking, oh, what's behind this registration? Because I know I've got a delicate voice down here anyway. It's much easier to play with. You cannot be having 2 manuals for this sort of thing. And also, if you're going to play any sort of Euro organ stuff or any organ stuff, this is where it starts to get fun, because you've got effectively what you should have, 2 manuals. So your performance in terms of being able to have one organ sound here, another organ sound here, and if you wanted, you could have another organ sound here instead of the strings. But it makes the instrument so much more flexible and fun to play. The worst thing you can ever do is settle. Don't just keep turning your keyboard on every single day and doing the same thing. You've always got to try and improve and find this perfect solution for you. Some customers, some people only like the idea of a single manual. That's fine. That's not a problem. But you'll only ever have limited split points. So if you wanted to have a choir here, you can. But you've not got a lot of space. Whereas with this, my guitar, I could play the whole thing without ever touching that manual. That allows me to play my melody. If I want to do some little flute frills or some oboe frills even, you see the potential here and the benefits of having two manuals. It's not massively expensive to do it. Like I said to you, in fact, you can buy. I'm always an advocate of being cheap. You can buy these secondhand. There's lots of them knocking around on eBay, Gumtree, you name it. There's websites in the Netherlands and Germany where you can buy secondhand keyboard instruments. The thing you won't find easily is that. I looked high and low for a secondhand one of these, and they just simply don't exist. Because I'm guessing, like me, once you've got one, you think that I'm never letting this go because it's so clever. If I decide I want to have a timpani here, and a choir here, and some strings here, as long as I've got enough space in the keyboard for me to point a direction where to go for that voice, I can do it. I really can do it. And it's just so really versatile. I really can't. This little thing, I have to be very careful. I'm terrified of scratching the keyboard. This little thing is really so nicely made. It's all metal. Build quality is. Actually, I've got to say, it feels like something that Ketron would manufacture. But it's got that sort of look and feel to the box. But I don't know if there's any connection or not. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm just sort of talking absolute trash. But it is well made. It's really, in fact, so well made, as I say, I would be very careful how you put it because it's got some sharp corners, this thing has, on the edges. And I am very precious about my Genos. So if you're going to do that, then either have it on a little separate stand by the side, which I've actually ordered, and I'll send you a link at some point. There is a little stand. It's an iPad stand of all things, but it actually will keep hold of that nicely. And then that's it. You need an MP30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, any of those. You've got to make sure if you've got an MP30, 31, you can use the normal MIDI cable into here. But really, I always recommend you get a new one. I mean, for the price that these things are, I mean, I think it cost me 240 something off for Amazon. It was delivered next day from Amazon. It was just super service. And I never thought I would recommend Amazon for musical equipment, but when needs must, needs must. The box I had to order from Germany and it took a week to arrive. So just bear with me a second. Sorry, I needed a cough and I'm drying up. So hopefully this has given you all the tools that you need. If you decide you want to make your Genos or any other keyboard, to be fair, because it works in exactly the same ways. SX900, Genos 1, Tyros 5, Tyros 4, Tyros 3, Tyros 2, all work in exactly the same manner. So you've got no problems in terms of making it a two-manual instrument. And as we can see, it's a nice setup. It really is. I've got it on a low stand. Again, the stand came from Amazon. It's actually on wheels, would you believe? This thing can be wheeled around. It just makes it so much easier to hoover underneath. I never thought I'd say that in my days, but there you go. So the stand, and then the Genos is actually sitting on just a wooden box that I had made, just to rise the instrument up a bit. So this is sitting on the stand. This is sitting on a box that's sitting on the wooden stand. I'll post some pictures at some point on my next video, just to sort of show you how it's all set up and configured. But it's portable. You literally could put all of this in the car, no problem whatsoever. I say having the stand on wheels does really come into it. I never thought I would say having a keyboard stand with wheels on it would come into its own. But in terms of moving it around the house and sort of keeping things tidy and neat, because I'm a very OCD sort of kind of person, the whole cable management at the back is just an absolute dream. So you haven't got anything to worry about. So until my next video, I hope you found this interesting. Please leave a comment. Don't forget to click subscribe. There we go. Look, have you subscribed? I hope you have. I mean, I make these videos for the love of this instrument, and the team that create these things at Yamaha really are skilled individuals. And it makes making music so much pleasurable. And I keep getting this, I don't know why I keep getting this message. Everybody keeps saying Genos or Korg. Well, it's not my choice. I'm not buying it. It's you. So if you are asking me that question, please don't. It puts me on the spot because I will always say Genos. You know what my sort of heart pulls to, and it has always been Yamaha from day one. Because it's easy to play. You sit down and everything just makes absolute common sense. It's not complicated. And for anybody who says it is complicated, then you're looking at it from the wrong aspect. Think common sense. If I want to do something, how would I do this? And if you sort of think, well, I would do this, then this is generally how the keyboard works. So in terms of operation, it's a dream. And if you are an owner, you already know this anyway, so there's no point me spouting on about it. But the SX900 works in exactly the same way, with two keyboards. A Yamaha MP35 is what I recommend, and that's the little box from Lab for Music, and it's called a Sipario. And that's it. That's all you need, and a little bit of patience just to set it up. And of course, I'm hoping this video has talked you through the steps. So, oboe on the top, guitar on the lower right, strings on the left. Split keyboard from a keyboard that technically can't split, thanks to this. Okay, so I'll say goodbye for now, but I'll be back with another video. If you've got any comments, please leave them below. I'd love to hear from you, and always try to respond also if I can. I know I get some comments from sort of France, Germany, all over the place. So I really do appreciate that. I really do. And thank you. So I'll see you later, guys. Look after yourselves and take care. Bye-bye.